Welcome to Beyond the Borders podcast.
Where every story is a journey and every journey is an inspiration.
Beyond the Borders is all about highlighting the incredible cross-cultural stories that exist in our communities.
We want to provide a platform for their story to shine because they are so important in today's world.
These stories not only celebrate the diversity of human experience,
but also foster empathy, understanding, and connection.
Our mission here is to amplify these voices, so stick around and join us as we explore these stories throughout the season. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Beyond the Borders podcast. I am Natalie. We're very excited to be with you in the studio today. I have my two co-hosts. I have Ian and Rosie here as well. And we're in the studio with Idi Kamara, and we're very excited to have him. So Idi, I'll pass it over to you to just briefly introduce yourself.
All right, my name is Idi Kamara. Happy to be here. I met Natalie and Rossi, was it 2 years ago?
Three? Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
Almost?
Through one of my family members, Bibi.
Shout out to you, Bibi.
That was Natalie's classmate, so
Yes.
I don't know. We're all just family now, I think, at this
Definitely.
point. So, but yeah, I'm happy to be here. Happy for this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We're just going to jump right into it. So, can you tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from, how old you were when you came here?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Bamako, Mali, West Africa. I was born in 93, was there until 2006. That's when we moved to Denver, Colorado. So I was 12 years old at that time. And I don't know what the math is from then to now, but was it like 19 years? Almost 20 years now that I've been in the States. So I've officially lived here longer than I lived in Africa, but was definitely old enough to remember a lot that I did when I was growing up in Africa. So yeah, it's like a little bit about my background.
Thank you. And that really, I think it's important to highlight what you said about being old enough to remember a lot of the things before you came here, because I think that in a lot of ways roots you to your identity, right?
For
like
sure.
that identity can't be taken away from you because you're rooted in it.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. I think that I have like a pretty unique perspective in life, just because, again, the first part, like first 12 years of my life was like lived in a completely different country, completely different culture. Lifestyle is different. Our morals are different. Culture is different. There's a lot of stuff that was embedded in me at that age. But I also moved from that into like this part of the world young enough to have like developed to have like some of those things changed in me still, you know? So like everything that was instilled in me before I came here, I've kind of grown to develop my own view on certain things and like kept certain things, you know? So it's like a weird hybrid of a human being, I guess you could say, that I am, just because of those two worlds combined and in the way they were. Because like I think everyone's different. Like depending on the age that you come here, it could be different for everyone. I came here with my younger sister. She's 3 years younger than me, and my older brother, who was 5 years older than me, and we're all like very different people.
Yeah.
Right, because like we kind of like all moved here at the same time. So my brother was 17 when he moved here. I was 12 when I moved here, and my sister was 9 when she moved here. And we've all been here since. And I think like our personalities, the way we view things, the way we view life, the things that we accept from like our quote unquote culture are like very different in different ways. And I think the only difference is in like that scenario is just at what age we kind of changed worlds, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So.
But you say your name is Kamara. Like, there's a lot of Kamara, like football players, soccer players.
Yeah.
Did you play soccer?
I did.
Okay.
I did, yeah. So I played soccer. That's one thing that I did like growing up in Mali. Like that was like my escape, my everything. Literally, like when I ate, and then I was out. When I was out, I was usually playing soccer, looking for a place to play soccer.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I really, that's something that kind of soccer took me all over the world, honestly. So when I moved here, I kept playing. Played high school, ended up playing with the Rapids Academy here, and then went on to play college soccer as well. And after college, I was still trying to play professionally. So it took me to Netherlands for a little bit on a team there, and then right before I started like working corporate, I was in France too, trying to play over there. And then, but it's just kind of got to a point where I wanted to start making money. The professional thing wasn't working out in my eye. So I just decided to kind of make a change and start making some money another way.
Oh, before we move away from soccer playing, like, isn't it weird how, like, growing up in Africa, we call it football, and when you got here, they call it soccer.
They call it soccer. Yeah. Yo, it's crazy. So one of my first memories when I moved here was so when we lived here, there was a kid. I still remember this vividly. I didn't know like they called it soccer at that time. I was saying football, and like he knew what I meant. I didn't have any other way to try to explain to him like that I mean soccer, but he just kept messing with me. It was like, oh, football, like that's he was just like saying American football.
Yeah.
But I knew that he knew what I meant, but he still wouldn't just like. It was almost like a little form of like, not teasing or bullying because it wasn't like malicious.
That should be your friend. That's your friend.
That's a friend. But it was just like, oh, football. Yeah, you mean like American
somebody
football.
who knows something that you're talking about but still bullies you
Yeah.
around it. So, yeah.
It's just like football. Yeah, no, there's only one football basically, like American football. I was like, bro, I know what you mean. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
He just says no football. So it is weird though. Like that was an adjustment. But now it's like been so long now it feels weird to call it football because I've been calling it soccer for so long.
Yeah.
One of the things you have mentioned is you traveled the world. You were in Netherlands and you went to France when you were trying to play soccer and do it professionally, but that it didn't work. So you have to like kind of thinking of like making money, and that's why you came back and start working corporate. One of the the biggest issue that we usually have in our community is you have someone like you were able to realize very fast that this didn't work. Same as me, right?
Yeah.
I was able to realize that basketball didn't work for me, so I have to like start be serious and go to school and finish school and trying to work and do something else. What do you think of what do you think the mindset of other people who at a certain age Africans who came here want to play soccer already past the golden age of like sport, but they're trying so hard to play for it and they don't have any backup plan?
Yeah. That's kind of like with that, because it's hard to like if you have a dream and a goal, it's very hard to be quote unquote realistic, because like realistic, you could be like okay, at this point, bro, you're 29 years old and you're still trying to make it. Like that's not very realistic, but to that person, like who am I also to be like it's not realistic, like you also do. It's also important to understand though that like the percentage of people who make it to that level is like very, very slim. You can have like all of the belief in yourself, like, but sometimes it might just not work for whatever reason. And I'll use myself as an example. I definitely see people playing professionally that I have either played against or played with that I can say with confidence that like skill wise and like I was even better than some of them, but if not, at least like good enough as many of them, but it still worked out for them and it didn't work out for me. Sometimes it's just not like in your card. It could be for whatever reason. It could be like right place at the right time, or maybe you might not just be as good as you think you are, like to other people, whatever. It could be a bunch of other things that's not in your control as to why you won't make it. With that being said, it's important, like you said, to have like the next like something else that you can transition into, right? And then that would depend from person to person. Like people have different ambitions. So for example, like if I wanted to only play soccer, and if soccer doesn't work out, then like I don't care. Like I would just try to figure something else out. Then yeah. But I think if you start off, the earlier you start to prepare yourself for the next thing, the better off you would be. So like if you have like something else that you can easily transition into at the moment where it does become a reality for you, that like this thing that you're chasing is not going to happen for you, and you can easily shift to that, I think the better off you would be, versus just going until you realize that like this doesn't work out for me, and then now you're trying to figure out what else to get into, if that makes sense. I personally think that the first option, you might be better off because you already have some momentum and you can just hit the ground running, versus slowing down and like coming to a full stop.
Yeah.
And then now you have to try to gain momentum. It's just going to be slower, and it might take you some time. I don't know if that answered your question.
It does. It does. It definitely answered my question. I'm gonna like transition away from just like talking to you about. Let me asking you about your experience in general, right? You moved here when you were 12 years old.
Yeah.
How was that transition from Mali to Denver, Colorado?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Not, if it was Mali to Arizona, I would
Somewhere
understand.
hot, something else.
You
Yeah.
know, but Mali to Denver, Colorado, how was that transition for you
And I
and
just
your
want to
family?
tack on an extra question in that same question. You mentioned too that like our morals are different, right? Because of our culture as well, and the things that we believe in. And so how did that also factor into your transition and like the things that were happening around you, especially being at the age that you're going into middle school, high school, and you have a certain set of morals that you live by,
Right.
and you're now in this society and community that doesn't necessarily operate on those same
Yeah.
rules and morals and beliefs?
Yeah. Man, so this is crazy. So like whenever people always like, everyone just assumes that like coming from Africa to America, like, oh man, you must have been like so happy to move here. Like you were so excited, like, cause this world is so, I don't know, whatever they're envisioning, but like the transition for me, like at first I really didn't like it. Like I didn't like being here because the biggest thing for me, at least at that age, was just like the freedom that I didn't have anymore. Like I said, when I was in Africa, I literally would just eat and then leave the house. I would just be outside. The only times I'm usually at home is when it's time to eat or sleep. Like eat, leave, go do whatever with my friends, come back home, eat, and then leave again, do the same thing. When I moved here, I actually moved like to Commerce City. Like that's where my dad had his house. It was in Commerce City, and it was at the time where Commerce City it was a part that wasn't as developed. So it was like literally like we used to have to drive, I think like 40 minutes to like the nearest King Super.
Wow.
Like it was like kind of that far out. And so
So Colorado grown.
Yeah.
yeah, so it was just way out there. So I couldn't go anywhere without a car. So basically, like you go from being out of the house all of the time to just being in the house all of the time. And at that time, like you can only watch so much TV. The food was different. I didn't really like the food. Like the water in Commerce City did not taste good. Everything was bad, and I didn't speak English either. So like you can't really even communicate with people either.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, yeah, that was a tough transition. Like it was just like a complete cultural shock. You just moved from one part of the world to another part, and it's just like, damn, what is this? So it was tough, but at the same time too, like I think kids adapt so much quicker too. Like the same way it was so different and so hard, I feel like I also like found a way to adapt just as quickly. When I moved, I was 12, but I was in high school, so I started in 9th grade. I was kind of like ahead in school, and surprisingly, they didn't hold me back. I don't know why. They should have. I think like they should have given me a little more time to learn English.
Yeah.
But I basically was just in 9th grade at like 12, and like was in all of the classes, and then was in ESL as well. But even that, like at school, didn't really know how to talk to people as much. Like I just remember like they just knew I spoke French, so there was like one of our assistant principal who spoke French but really didn't speak French. You know what I mean? Like, there's always that one person at the school that quote unquote speaks French.
They took 4 years of French in high school. They got it. Yeah,
Right, they don't really speak French. So that, but still, it was kind of helpful at least because there's still somewhat of like, you know, and then there was a French teacher there too, and but yeah, I remember like people when they needed to talk to me, they would like maybe like use like a translator maybe, like put stuff in the translator and talk to me, and but I think that being said, that's hard, but I think that's also the reason why I think I acclimated so fast because I remember being able to communicate with people like in less than a year. Like I picked it up really quickly. So again, I played soccer, so there was a lot of Spanish kids on the soccer team, so I ended up like picking up Spanish too along the way. There was a point where I kind of like spoke or understood equally the same amount, or maybe even a little more Spanish than English, like when I was learning, because those are the people that I was spending more time around. Yeah. So like all of the soccer terms, at least like I knew all of those like in Spanish. Yeah. You know? And then I don't know, just fast forward, kind of just like it became like normal, like my normal life. You asked about the cultural difference. It was obviously very, very like different. I think one of the things, Africans are very generous and like very helpful. I think like had I been in not saying that people didn't help me here as much, but I think had it been the other way around, I think like Africans are not usually more willing and to literally go out of their way and go above and beyond to help other people. So that was like a little different here. I noticed too there wasn't as much community here. Yeah. Like we didn't even know our neighbors. Like neighbors don't even know each other. Yeah. Like the house is very next door, and even like I would ask my dad if he knew their name. Like we don't know anything about the person next door. That's also very different. Yeah. Like in Africa, you can go like the whole street, all of the houses on there. Yeah, you can't. Everyone knows each other. Yeah. Parents know each other. Kids know each other. Yeah. Which is why they like there's a like the term where they say like a village raises kids because like we all know each other, and so like if you mess up, the house down there usually like know you very well and they're able to discipline you and stuff. So
and your parents won't have a problem with it. Like nobody's going to jail, nobody's calling the police. Like it's normal, right?
It's very normal. Yeah. It's not. You see an older person, you're supposed to greet them. There's like a structure.
There's a structure.
Like, very. Almost like not military, but like in Africa, there's very much like everyone kind of know their roles because it's very spelled out. Like when you're the youngest one, there's things that you're supposed to do. When you're the oldest one or the older one, there's things that you're supposed to do, and it's just understood. Yeah. It kind of wasn't like that here. Kids were talking crazy to teachers. That was just mind blowing to me. Yes. I'm just like, what?
I grew up here, and that's still mind blowing to me, coming from the house that I came from.
We don't talk back to teachers back home. You know, like or even teachers say something.
It is what it is. That's what it is. Yeah. And like not calling people. I don't know about this for you, but even like for me, I grew up here, but people calling older people by their first name, like just by their first name, it's always like a. Even in grad school, I had professors and they'd be like, "Oh, you can call me by my first name," and even like me and Bibi would always be like, "Like we don't know. I can't call you by your first name. You know, it's just not okay." Yeah.
So Idi, okay, you were saying something?
No, I was just gonna say to this day I feel like that. When it's like someone that's older than me, I feel weird calling you by your first name just because that's not what we do. Right. Like even if they tell me to, I still would like just put a miss in front of your first name.
Something.
Just because like you're like my parents' age, maybe you're older. Like I can't. It makes me feel weird. Yes. Like, and that's not like but like that's the other difference too. Like for here, people prefer that because like makes them feel younger. Yeah.
Versus in Africa, people will do everything to be old. Like older, my mom right now, she's not that old, but anytime you talk to her, I'm not gonna say her real age, but she'll be like, "Oh, I'm this year's old." You know, I'm like, I'm too old, and I'm like,
I start to feel that way too.
It's like we can't wait to age.
Yes, because
but I think it's because of the respect that elders have in Africa. Yeah, so it's like you probably just can't wait to get to that.
Like right now, if I were going around community, I was like, you bring me that. I tell some like 20 years old kid,
Yeah.
Bring me that. Because,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
I'm
grab me the remote.
Yeah.
I'm
My nieces
just-
feel that now at home. It's just like, Tata,
what?
go get this.
It's always about the remote though.
The remote,
Like,
yeah.
like,
Tata,
you
go,
will-
go put this in the trash.
Yeah.
oh man.
And
So-
like, and I mean, I've been around your nieces too, and it's so cute because they gladly will do it too,
Yeah.
like dancing along the way to go
Yo,
and
it's
do
so
the
fun.
thing.
When I walk in, they literally try to like take my shoes off.
They're like,
one
"Yeah,
would
come
one
in."
would run and go get water, bring water for me.
Wow.
But it's really cool. But they
Yeah.
mom like instilled that in them. though.
Yeah, it's values,
But that's a
right? Yeah.
communal, living in Africa, right? And you said something that's really interesting. Africans will go out of their way to help other people.
Yeah.
Right. I would tell you one of my culture shock when I first moved in here is I didn't know that you were not supposed to either like help a blind person when you're seeing them struggling, right?
Yeah.
So I was in a bus getting off, and there was, this lady, she's blind, so she was getting off the bus. I can see that she's blind. So I'm trying to like my instinct, African instinct, being here for the first year, I trying to just like help her, and she got upset.
Yeah.
That was in Tucson, Arizona, right?
Yeah.
So like, how do you feel about what was your culture shock? Like, beside you talk about a lot of stuff, but like what was one thing that was like a culture shock for you?
Yeah. When I first moved here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part is crazy for sure. Cause like to them, it's almost. Before I answer my question, I'm just gonna comment on what you said, like helping the blind person. But yeah, for them too, like being here now, you understand the other side of that. Maybe it could just be like she feels offended because maybe you're trying to like offer her like you're treating her differently than you would like other people. Like just because she's disabled doesn't mean that like she's not capable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that could be a reason why they're offended. Where like from where we come from, it's not that. It's literally just like just helping.
And
So,
respectful too.
and
It's a sign of
respectful.
respect. Yeah.
It's very much a sign of respect, and people appreciate that, and that's very like that's welcome.
Yeah.
From like where we're from. So,
Right.
but first cultural shock when I moved here. Again, it'll just go back to like just my first time witnessing kids talking crazy to the teacher. Literally, like I was like shocked.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, literally screaming at the teacher. First of all, like not only is it a teacher, but the person is also older than you. Like
Yeah.
you just don't disrespect people like that. And so for me, like I just remember I didn't know what was being said because I didn't understand English, but I just understood like the tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see it happening.
And nothing happened. Like the teacher, like they didn't even get in trouble. It was almost the other way around. Like them going out of their way to try to, like, cater to the kid. And it was like, I wish you might. Like,
So for me, going back to the transition and the culture shocks and everything, I am excited to tell me, like as somebody who came from Africa, give me your experience as a teenager, like in high school, college,
yeah,
dating life,
Yeah.
like going out, like like there is those things that back home how we do it,
Yeah.
it is very different.
yeah,
Like people here, like when they're done with high school or like with the first year in college, I feel like they can go crazy easily. Like, oh yeah, I am in college. I can do this. I can do that. I can do
adult,
this.
I can
You
move
know,
on.
I can.
yeah,
Like being an African, having that African culture, but you are 18. You are 19. As well too, and you are in America. You are with crazy kids like of your age, and there's dating, there is clubbing, you are a football player, no soccer player.
Yeah.
You are literally a star.
Yeah.
Like how was like that life, that crazy life at the time?
It was great.
My
He said,
man.
let me be honest with
It
you.
was great. No, because like when I was here in high school was more. So I think African parents are extra protective too when you're here, like just because they understand like the risks Like I literally remember like one of the first things that our dad told us when we first came here was like you can literally become anything in this country. If you want to be the world's baddest, like the biggest criminal, you have the opportunity to be that here in America. But if you also want to be like the most successful person in the world, like you have that opportunity here. Like that's wide open, and it's the truth. Just because like you can literally do and become anything you want here. Like whatever you want to do, you can. And so there, even though like so when we first moved here, our mom was still in Africa, so it was really just our dad. So he worked all of the time. So, but with that said, even though he was at work, like we were basically just allowed to just go to school and come back home, like nothing else in between. I played soccer, so I had the extra soccer, but like my other two siblings didn't, so I could go to soccer practice and stuff like that. But it was really just like school, house. If we're running errands or we're going to visit family members, that besides that, there was nothing else really in between. This was before college, right? So, finally towards the end of like high school, I was 17, 18. That's when I started to want to like do more stuff. So it's like but it was like relentless, and it didn't come easy. Like still my dad, there's a lot of stuff that he would say no to, but like I just kept asking all of the time until he finally started to say yes, but come back by this time, and like at least I'm getting to kind of go out to one party. I would go and then come back, and then slowly I started like push the boundary a little bit. Come back by 12, I'll come back at like 1. Come back by this, I'll come back a little. Like I just come when I wanted to, but he wouldn't know though, because usually he's asleep, so I'll come and just like get in the house. And I still remember the one.
After watching this,
I remember the one day he caught me was like, I left, and then he's like, yeah, like don't be out too late. Usually I knew his time, like when he would go to work, so I can kind of like just go around. But this particular day, I didn't know he was going early. So, and I was out, I think, when I got back home. He was working at 4 that day.
okay.
And then like I came in. I used to drive like a stick shift, like Honda. So like when I was like cutting the corner into my house, I would just turn the car off because it could just roll. And then like I'll roll into my driveway, park. You don't really hear anything. Open the garage and get in. And this day did my normal thing, and then like open the garage, walk in. As I'm opening the garage door to get in the house, he's opening the garage door to come out to go to work. And just like this, like dead on, straight on, looking at him. And like my dad is kind of easygoing though, like, but the stare he gave me, and he didn't say anything. He just got in his car and just left me wondering all day, like basically what was gonna happen when this man gets back home. It was like terrifying, but really like he hit me with one of those like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed type of speech. You know what I mean? It's like when he came back home, and I was like, "Damn, man, you should have just done something else."
Yeah. You should just hit me. That would have been easier.
Yeah, exactly. Like you really did your best here to make me feel like I didn't anticipate that, even though spending all day. But anyway, so high school is when it kind of started for me to start to experience this stuff a little bit, and then obviously when I went to college, it's like I was out of state too, so I went to school in Texas. And obviously, like fully out on my own. It was just freedom. Played soccer, had a lot of teammates. So that's the other nice thing about being sports. Like it's easy to just make friends. We usually do a lot of things together, like because we're all on the same schedules. So go to school, classes, training, treatment, all of that. And then we usually have the same day off. Ours used to be, I think Mondays are off because we play Friday nights, we play Sunday, and then we get Monday off, and then we start again on Tuesday. So usually our like party nights were Sunday nights, like, and it's all mainly the soccer guys, and then we call them Sunday fun days. Just
Man,
freshman, sophomore year, and then
partying on Sunday in college.
That's tough.
It's tough. It's very tough. But we also like built our schedules in a way where Mondays were light, like because we knew that's our day off. So, and we knew what we wanted to do on Sundays. So kind of like planned accordingly. But those are fun. And then
before we even like move forward with, I just wanted to speak on that too. You're saying some like really interesting things, and as an immigrant, and people who are watching who are immigrant or refugee or anybody who came here under the age of, I don't know, 17, right? You said when you guys moved here, it was you, your dad, and your siblings, and your mom, or was still
Yeah.
in Africa. And sometimes it's really hard. Your dad is working. They say your dad is working all the time, so
Yeah.
he's not home.
Yeah.
What kept you out of trouble?
Soccer, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Soccer is what kept me out. But it helped because I really, really liked playing it too. Again, that was my form of fun even before I came here. So, like, I literally searched for everywhere I could play soccer. So, but aside, and our dad too, like, you weren't really, again, like, that structure of just listening, you're supposed to, like, abide by, like, what they say goes, like, you're not really like in a position where you're gonna be like no to your dad.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't want to do
There
this.
is no
I don't wanna do
negotiation
that.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's their way or no way, really. So
Yeah.
when they say no, like, it's no. So and a lot of times it's just like understood. You just go to school and you come back home, and I think a lot of the reasons why they say no to a lot of the extracurricular activities is just to there's no chance of anything happening if you're not out there in the mix anyway.
Yeah.
Right. In order for you to like even start to come across these opportunities to go rogue, like, you need to be out of the house in like those situations. So that's the reason why I think there's a lot of no's, and I think a lot of not just African, I think a lot of like immigrants or people can relate to that. Parents just saying like, no, stay here, unless they're certain that the situation that you're gonna be in, there's like zero. So like if other of their friends wanted to like get us to go to their house and be with their kids, like, that's completely fine. You can do that all day long or whatever else, or soccer practice. But the thing that kept me out of trouble the most, I think, was just playing soccer. And I was pretty good at it too, so it kept it fun for me, and it just kept moving. Like, it took me places. It paid for my school. The only thing it didn't really do for me is just like I didn't get to make money with it as a living for as long as I wanted to, and at the level that I wanted to do it at, so but besides that, like, again, I played with the Rapids Academy, which was like the academy at that time was like the highest level, like, in youth soccer. And playing with with the academy of like the MLS team in Colorado was really good. I got to train with the first team a bunch of times. I think before college I played in 2 games with like the reserve teams. So like I was pretty good. So that was nice, and took me to college, and that helps too in college because you have that structure around you too. Like when you're an athlete, like, I think college for non, if you go to school and you're not really in other extracurricular activities, like, it's a different experience because
Yeah.
you really have to figure everything out on your own. For us, it was a little different because we already kind of have a structure and schedules like made for us. There's always going to be practice at this time. So after practice, there's always going to be study halls at this time. There's always going to be like treatment at this time. So your day was already like kind of packed for you. And by the time you're done with the day, there's really not much left to do but go to sleep and wake up and repeat. So
Yeah.
that also made it easy in college to like not be in trouble. In order for you to keep playing, you're supposed to maintain a certain level of grades to like continue to be eligible to play. So that's another incentive for you to try harder in classes, even if you don't want to. For me, scholarship was on the line, so like in order for me to have my school paid for, I got to be playing soccer. So like a lot of it was tied into that. So it kept it easy where I could have fun, but like not like irresponsibly. Still had to be responsible.
And I think I have 2 things before we kind of pivot and talk about some other things. But I think, too, like what you said about, again, culture and morals, I just think that that's such a big thing for any immigrant family.
For sure.
Whether or not you were born in America or born in wherever you were born and your family immigrated, whatever it is. But I think, too, along those lines of like for us, when our parents say no, or like when our parents tell us that these are the rules, those rules exist if I'm here or if I'm not here.
Yeah.
Those rules still exist,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Versus like our friends who are like American or who, you know, their families have been here or whatever kind of different family dynamics exist. But it's like, oh, that rule only exists like if my mom's around or
Yeah.
like, you know, or if my parents are around, but they're not around. So
Yeah, they
that
can't
goes
see
away.
me. Yeah.
They can't see me. Whereas like my brother and I were talking about this a few months ago, but even my brother, he's significantly older than me, and even he was like, I was convinced that my mom knew what I was doing. Like even if she wasn't home, I just felt like she knew, so
To
I
be
would never do
fair,
anything.
Moms usually always
They
know.
do know. They always know exactly. So he
might
was
be
like,
right.
I think he was right for sure, because he was telling us about how one time in high school he wanted to have a girl over, and the girl was gonna come, and then he just had a feeling that like my mom was gonna know that he had a girl in the house, so he just told the girl not to come. And he said that same day, my mom was telling us that she ended up being sick that day, but she ended up like leaving, going to work, and she came home from
Oh
work
my
like an
gosh.
hour after she left, you know. And so anyways, just these things, right? Like culturally, it's almost that belief of like, it doesn't matter where we are, who we're with, what we're doing, those values, those morals, they still exist for us, because it's like our parents have raised us to be like, even if I'm dead, like these things still exist. You know, they
Yeah.
don't go away.
Right.
Because it's that culture of passing things down too, right? Like how we do in our cultures, of everything is passed down. The morals and values that our parents hold, their parents held, you
Yeah.
know, and if their parents didn't hold them, they now hold them because their parents didn't have
For
those
sure.
same things. You know what I mean? So
For sure.
I think that it's really interesting to hear you say like, too, like I just knew like I had these rules, and we were raised in this way of like, if dad says no, it's no, and that's it, you
Yeah.
know, and that's the bottom line.
Can I add something to that real quick?
Yeah.
I think alongside with like what Nathalie's saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your last name,
Mm-hmm.
growing up in Africa,
Mm-hmm.
it's really important.
Yeah.
Because you carry your family last name. So
Yeah.
when you're going out, you are no longer you. You are no longer, Idi. You are no
Yeah.
longer Natalie. You're no longer In. You're no longer Rossi. You are the son of this person.
Yeah, for sure.
You are from this family.
For sure.
Right? So when you are doing things, you have to be like so careful, because once you are in trouble, they're not gonna call you by your first name. They're gonna say, this son of Kamara, or son of like
Yeah.
Imprem, or
Yeah.
ones, then like this, he did this,
Yeah.
and his family has taught him bad
Badly.
things.
Right.
And even if it's not your
Yeah.
last name, because like for some people, like for Ian, it's like it's not the last name.
Yeah.
But because like you said, we all know, like in your community, they know each other. The
Yeah.
person at the end of the street knows the person at the beginning of the street.
yeah.
So if the person at the end of the street sees you acting up, the person at the beginning
Yeah.
of the street is
It's
gonna
gonna
know
hear
that
about it, yeah.
whoever's son was out here acting up, because they know your
Yeah.
parents, they know your family,
Yeah.
And I think that that's also the importance of communal living
Yeah.
and communal like raising of children, and even just existing in a community is so important, because it makes for accountability but also for support. Like
Yeah.
if somebody in your community, their father dies, right, everybody knows that the father of this person has died. We all need to now go and visit, or we all need to now go and take things to this family to support them. Like
For sure.
that sense of community is so essential, and it's so different because we don't get that here in the US. Like you're left to deal with things individually, and even as Africans in the US, like that same level of communal living doesn't have space to exist in like a capitalist society.
Yeah.
Excuse me, capitalism, but
It's true. It's true. It's very true. And I think that there's like benefits to it too, which is it allows you to like maintain. I mean, you're kind of like policing each other. It's
Yeah.
not saying that nothing bad would ever happen,
Right.
but it just significantly decreases the opportunities for things to go bad, just because like we're all so attached. And there's just like a lot of the way of living is just like a lot of there's no need for explanations. Like
Yeah.
you just kind of grow up in it. So I guess you don't really know any better. Like you don't know that nothing else exists. So it's very helpful in that sense to kind of make sure that like people are helping each other. People are not like taking advantage of each other. We still respect everyone,
Yes.
like in the same street, like even a person who has a lot and then there's someone else at the end of the street who may not have a lot. They're still able to just coexist in it, like
Yes.
without any kind of like animosity or
Yeah.
whatever else like that, just because like at the end of the day there's still like very much respect. People don't look down on others because they have more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you see it all the time over here, like even in workplaces and stuff, someone who may be like of a higher like position, like CEO or manager or something like that, like don't fully respect someone that may be at like a lower level position. And like I think that usually stuff like that doesn't happen really like in our community, just because people are more just grateful to
Yeah.
be at that position and understand that like they could have easily also been where that other person is, where like they would still continue to just respect that person just as much. Like
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, we're all still just human beings. That's the one thing I
Definitely.
think, like I wish there was more of that here. People just
It is.
respecting everyone.
It is.
Like yeah,
For
like it,
some degree.
Yeah.
people probably think I'm weird because like I literally, when I walk up and down the street, anyone that I encounter I say hi or hello to.
Yeah.
Some people respond, some people
Don't,
don't.
yeah.
You probably feel like you're weird. Why are you saying hello to me? Like
Yeah.
why are you saying hi to me? But like that's just how it was from where I was. Like
Yeah.
you just acknowledge another
People,
human being, like
yeah.
just your existence, no matter if they're older than me or younger than me. Usually, like in Africa, if it's an older person, the younger person is supposed to be the first one to say hello. You say hello, they
Yeah.
respond to you, and you go about your day. There's no harm in that, but that's one thing that still stick to me today.
Yeah.
Sometimes I even like catch myself like feeling a little weird, like damn, do I say hello to these people too much? But it's just like, hi, how's it going?
Yeah, and-
Good. Have a nice day.
Yeah, and on that note too of like things that have stuck with you or things that you're willing to take and not take, because I know you mentioned earlier that like with your siblings, right, because of your different ages, there are even things within your culture that you're like each of you are willing to accept, and some of you are not willing to accept
Yeah.
because of that. And like me and my siblings have the same thing. Like some of my siblings were born in Africa, I was born here, and
Akata.
yeah, that's what they, some people, but that word is controversial too. So
No, not all of them.
not all of them, yeah.
Why
But
is
some
that
of
word
them.
so? Why is it so controversial?
Yeah, because so some people argued that like that word is derogatorily used to describe African American people amongst
really?
African communities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then some people like
Okay.
yeah. So like
Where is the origin of the word? Is it
Ghana.
Ghana. Okay, I was gonna say.
It sounds like Ghana.
Ghana, yeah.
I
So
was gonna say either Ghana or Nigeria. But
yeah, and I think Nigerians might use it too, but I definitely know Ghanaians use it because I grew up hearing it,
Yeah.
and it was always like a derogatory kind of thing. But yeah, like some of my siblings were born here. So I was born here, and then like my brother was born in Ghana and came when he was 13, so similar age to you. But even for me, like some of the things that I've just been taught are tradition, and it's interesting because I think that we're kind of like on the flip side, right, of the situation. Some of the things that I have been taught are tradition and culture, and I'm just gonna use our wedding as an example, right?
Yeah.
So marriage, because my husband is here, I can do that. But
But now you guys know that we're married.
now viewers know that we're married because you didn't know before. But
You always say that you're married, but they didn't.
they didn't know who the husband was, but now they know who the husband is.
Yeah.
But when we're getting married, yeah, right. But when we were getting married, right, the dowries, right?
Yeah.
So dot or whatever you call it in respective communities, and I was like, I'd always been taught that husbands pay dowry, like that's just what it is, and that it's supposed to be X amount, and that my siblings are also supposed to get something from him, and all of these things, right? And half of my siblings are born here. One of my brothers was born in Ghana. I was born here, and so we all have different perspectives on this type of thing.
Yeah.
But I am the youngest, and I'm the youngest girl, and so I think like the way that I view things is just that's what my parents told me, and that's just how it's supposed to be. I'm not really questioning a lot,
Right.
because it's tradition, it's culture, and I've always been told this is tradition, it's culture, So when it was happening, there was a certain amount of money that was being asked for, and my brother, the one that grew up in Africa, and even my other older brother, they were all like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why are you doing this? Like, this is doing so much extra, And I'm like, but it's tradition, it's culture. Like, that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And my mom's like, it's tradition, it's culture. And my uncles are all like, it's tradition, it's culture. And my brothers are like, no, like, this is not acceptable. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, at this point, this is getting ridiculous, you
Yeah.
know? And so we all disagree, like, we all, like, had different ways of viewing it, and then had to all put all of our views on the table and be like, okay, how do we do this in a way that is not excessive,
Yeah.
in a way that honors the culture, but it's also not like exploitative and using culture to be exploitative.
something else,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? And to be something else. And so I wonder for you all, if there are any like specific parts of your culture that like each of you have differing opinions on,
Yeah.
and that some of you are like, we'll take in, some of you are like, nah, we'll leave it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And what those things are.
Yeah. Oh man. So obviously, like our oldest brother has, if you look at like the total sum of things that are like kept, our brother probably kept the most from the culture. Me, I'm somewhere in the middle, and then my sister is just like has the least amount, could care the least, you know, about a lot of like things that are like cultural, like so. So for example, like marriage, they're like on my head right now about just being married, like
Yeah.
just because like I just turned 30 last October, so it's like, yo, bro, like time is going. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's super very much like to the point where my dad's older brother from the village
Oh no.
who don't even have a phone. Like this man has a phone, but like he doesn't even have access like all of the time. So because of like the part of the country, he needs to literally travel to a different part that has service so he can like get on the phone.
Calling you on WhatsApp or something.
Yeah, have found time to like talk to me about getting married, and I was just like, yo, but I couldn't be bothered. Like that's like for me, I very much just come to like I just do like what I want kind of. And so those things that I do like to do and don't like to do, some of them are cultural, some of them are not. Like, and I don't know, I like my view of the world. I'm
Yeah.
very comfortable with it. I'm very like I wouldn't rather have it any other way. So for me, like marriage is one. It's the same thing for my sister too. So she's 27. They're on her head too, because like she's quote unquote way past her time.
Yeah.
Our brother's married. But aside from that, like I don't know, like I think we reject a little bit of it's so counter it like goes against everything we just talked about now, but like there's a lot of stuff that I think our parents and like just our community people do that they don't really even want to do, or they don't even fully believe in, just because they're kind of afraid of the outside perspective, you know, how people are going to judge them and stuff like that. And like that still dictates a lot of their lives and their decisions and stuff. And it's like sometimes you would catch them doing things and then just talking shit about it later on. It's like, yeah, bro, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
It's like,
and
why?
it's like, it's not counter really to what we just talked about, because it goes hand in hand with living in such a communal society where everybody knows everybody's business.
Yeah.
Everybody has an opinion about everybody's business too. So that's like, there are a lot of benefits to being in a communal society.
Yeah.
But that also does exist. And we
Yeah.
can't ignore that, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, but it's like they don't have the ability to like pick and choose what they want to do. And I think that's kind of the difference. Like I know that this is what quote unquote we're supposed to do, but like for me, I just like to understand everything and why I'm doing things.
Right.
If you don't really have you can't really fully explain to me why I'm doing something, then like I can't not do it. For example, like I want to braid my hair. But in my culture, like from like my dad's specific like village and tribe, his people, quote unquote, don't do anything with their hair. Like men, we're not supposed to braid our hair. You're not supposed to grow dreads. You're not supposed to do anything like that. So like, but I still have the respect for them. I'm going to do it.
You said, what about me is I'm still going to do it. I respect you, but I'm going to do what I want to do.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet. Like I did it once, and then like, my mom found out about it, my dad found out about it, and then they just gave me this thing, so I took it out. But like, just because like I'm not at the point yet where like it's pressing enough, like it's just something I just kind of want to do it, but not like really want to do it yet.
Yeah.
But I'm keeping my hair, and I think at some point it's gonna get to a point where I do want to do it, and I need them to like fully explain to me exactly why is this something that your people don't do.
Right, yeah.
If you're able to make it sense for me, I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I need to understand why,
Yeah.
but it can't just stop at, oh no, we're just not supposed to do it. Like, okay,
What's
that
the
doesn't
meaning?
make
Like,
sense.
is there
Why?
meaning behind why we don't do it?
Why
Yeah.
don't we do it?
most
And it
of-
can be some superstitious stuff either, like, oh yeah, you're gonna die tomorrow. I'm not afraid of that, really.
Most of the time, it's not that there is a reason. It's like as men, we don't do this. As a female, we don't do this. That it's not culture. But coming back to what you said, it's like when your brothers were saying, like in your wedding, was like, why are you doing this much? And they were like, it's culture.
Yeah.
And like your mom saying like it's culture, and for them they say like you are doing too much. Like for me, I feel like if we don't do too, like you want to say like there should be a mix, or like
Yeah, we meet in the middle.
meet in the middle, but that wouldn't be our culture again.
Yeah.
It's our culture to do too much, is what you're saying.
No, it's not doing too much, because if I don't do certain thing,
Yeah.
and I do to please other people around, so that it doesn't feel that much,
Then it's no longer your culture.
I'm
It's
losing my own identity.
Yeah.
So, that would be a very challenging situation, like
Yeah.
the middle of like a culture or something like
And
that.
I'll add to that, I think that's one of the reasons why, like, again, like our parents are so, I don't know if this is the case for you, but they very much prefer you to try to find someone in your community.
Yeah.
Just to them, it quote unquote makes everything easy. So there's no chance for that cultural aspect not being upheld. Like, for example, if you were to marry someone else from Ghana, even within Ghana, there's probably going to be differences.
Yeah.
Depending on like the tribe or your ethnic group,
Yeah.
they might have their own little differences
Yeah,
too.
they do. It definitely is.
Yeah. So imagine from that to like a different country.
Yeah.
It's better he's African, but imagine if he wasn't even African. And
I
he
mean,
was, like,
let me
from
just tell you right now, the
Like-
reason that we just had to sit down and agree is because I'm the youngest girl. I'm the only married girl, and then two of my brothers are married, and they're both married to non-Africans.
Yeah.
And so it was like, this is the first time we're even getting to do this.
Yeah.
like let's just do this.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it's still cultural because we're
Yeah.
getting to do it in the ways of our culture.
Yeah.
But this is the first time we're getting to do this, so let's just not like
Yeah.
do anything to cause drama. You know
Right,
what I
yeah.
mean?
It's
And because
challenging.
also we're from different, like we are both African, thank God, by the grace of God. But like, we also are from different cultures, and so the way that they do things in their culture is different than the way that we do things in our culture.
So how was that? Like when it came down to it, what were the things that you were like, no, this is the way that
No,
I-
I mean, I feel like my family definitely understand,
Yeah.
and we understand that in all African culture and marriage and things, there are like some preliminary things that we should consider, right? And that's
sure.
like as a dot is part of it. But like for me, there were what I appreciate about the Ghanaian culture, the dot and the dowry still a dot, right? Where I came from, it's more so of like as if you were buying someone. That's like one thing that I didn't really appreciate about the culture.
Yeah.
Dot is supposed to be something symbolic,
For
right?
sure.
You came to pay respect to the woman's family, right? But in the Central African Republic, though, it's still, I don't want to I don't want to downplay the culture, but like the way it is framed and things that have been asked and money that has been asked to people, it's just not. I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, this is not culture.
Right,
This
yeah.
is not right, because like you're asking, all these things, but like I don't know if you're realizing that they're going to get married and we're moving and have their own family, and they need to have some type of like income to take care of themselves,
For
and sustain
sure.
themselves.
In his
as
country,
well.
they were asking, because you know
So-
how the siblings get things in the dot, and in his country, they were asking for PS5s and stuff. So I mean, it was really getting
Yeah,
extreme.
so-
But
Yeah.
since we're kind of getting on time, I wanted to kind of pivot and just talk about your journey, because you've talked to us about where you started, and I want to kind of talk about where you are, right,
Yeah.
and how you thought you were going to be a professional athlete. That was your career goal. That was what you were striving toward, and you were good. Like there was no, like you said, it's just one of those things that it might work for somebody else. It doesn't work for everybody.
For sure.
And so for you, I know you pivoted. You were working in corporate for a while. I met you when you were working in corporate.
Yeah.
But you were also an artist at the time that I met you as well. And so how has that journey been for you in pivoting from like being a professional athlete and like being an athlete being your whole life, right?
Yeah.
Like it's what you put all of your energy, all of your strength into.
Identity, basically.
Your whole identity, right? And then now this same person who your identity as an athlete is now you're an artist. And so what we didn't mention earlier is that Idi's also a photographer and he's also a streetwear designer. He's wearing his own designs today. And he does a lot of really amazing things. And so what was that like for you? And do you also feel like your training as an athlete and the discipline that you had as an athlete pushed you to be like, whatever I'm going to do, I'm still going to be the best at it, right?
Yeah.
I'm still going to do it to the best of my ability, actually take time, train, like get good at this thing.
Yeah.
And then also what did your family dynamic look like? Like was your family supportive in you transitioning from like being an athlete and working in corporate to now being an artist?
Yeah. No, I think it was the transition so like for me, you were asking earlier, like you have dreams and goals and you want to do this thing, but it's also important to have like a plan B and being realistic with yourself too. So like for me, the level I wanted to play at like was honestly, because when I was in Africa, I grew up watching European soccer. So like all of my favorite players were in Europe somewhere. So that really is where I would have truly enjoyed to play. And if not there, the only level I would have like accepted to play at here in the States would have been the MLS, which like even like that level is still not that big. It's still growing. So when I got to a point where I decided like, no, I'm just going to play soccer, I was 23 at that time. And if you for me, like I'm 23 and I still haven't really gotten to like the highest level yet. Like it's old. Like in soccer terms, like that's pretty old because you literally have like 16-year-olds getting signed.
Yeah.
Those are like the prodigies and stuff that people really want to take time to work on and develop. Not saying that it's impossible to make it like later on. You very much can. And there are cases where people have made it, but like I didn't want to do that. So I just made the choice to like, so in France, for example, the last straw for me literally was like, so, and I already kind of had the job lined up when I went to France. So it was literally like this, okay, when I go here, if it doesn't work out, I'm going to go this way. So just because like, so after college, I didn't get to go to the combine, which the combine is like where you, like you all of the players who get invited to the combine go and play. And then there's like all these MLS teams that come and you watch you play and like, and then you get drafted. That's the system here in America. So I didn't get to do that. So my last season in college was 2015, like fall of 2015, and I didn't graduate into summer of 2016. So I stayed at school for like an extra semester, basically right after soccer season. But since I didn't get to go to the combine, from that time now, I was kind of on my own to try to figure something out. And those 6 months that I did, not really being like on a team anymore, not training as much anymore, I was kind of on my own. And so summertime, I played with like the same. So usually after school, when you come home on summer breaks, you find a local team to play with to stay in shape and then go back to get ready for the season. So that summer I played for a team and I started getting back ready. But when I got back home, I reached out to the Rapids to see if I can come train with them. And they got back to me later. They got back to me a little later, and I went out to try out with them. It didn't work out. And then I went back to training. 6 months, like after that, I got another tryout opportunity to go like try out for like Atlanta United, which was a new team at that time. It didn't work out there either. And then I think it was maybe 6 months after that, then I found a team to go to in Netherlands. That was finally supposed to be something. It was like a third division team there. They weren't going to pay me like that much, but it was enough for me to just be there and cover my living and everything and still maybe show out and get seen by other teams. It was super exciting. But something happened with the visa situation where I wasn't able to stay there. So I had to come back. And then another 6 months, then try to go to France. So notice like with all of these things that doesn't work out and I come back, there's like a big window in between when I'm kind of like on my own, really just training to try to get ready for the next opportunity. it takes a lot and it was draining, but it's also closing my window. When I finally got to France, I went to Marseille specifically. Olympique Marseille is who I was hoping to get in front of. They have a second team, Olympique Marseille 2, they call it. I found out when one of their games was, went to watch the game. And then after the game, I had my highlight. I was able to I approached the coaches literally and showed them my highlight. They watched it. They're like, wow, you're good. How old are you? 23. T'es vieux. That's literally what he said.
Old,
you're old. And then so at that point, it was just like, oh, okay, well, I can come back to the US and try to play USL and then but at that point, I had interviewed with a company to do a sales job before going to France. So it was if this doesn't work out at this point, I'm just gonna go this route.
Yeah.
Because I am 23. And so when he said that, I was like, okay. I didn't hurt as much.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I already knew in the back of my head. It's a far jump, so it didn't work out. I went that route, and I did sales for a while, completely forgot about soccer. And then I think in that time, then I finally started to pick this thing up, Original Ugly, and that's kind of where my journey with art started. I actually quit that company to try to do this full time, and then ended up going back to Salesforce when you met me, but it didn't work out either just because my love wasn't there at Salesforce. So decided to fully just leave that and try to do this full time. And in terms of family support, it's hard because they don't really understand it. Why are you leaving a quote unquote good job to try to start to be an artist because you're not making as much money. But for me, it's kind of what I want to do. And it becomes easier to make that decision when you've already done the other stuff. I did do the sales job, I did the corporate stuff, I made a lot of money, and but still, this is what I want to do and try to find a way to make money with what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Before you go,
Well, where can we find the Original Ugly?
I was
Where
gonna
can
say
we
that
buy
at
it?
the end, but yeah, go ahead. You tell us.
Sorry.
It's just originalugly.com. So ORIGINAL and then uglyugly.com. You can also find the same handle on Instagram, Original Ugly. But yeah, just the best t-shirts, sweatpants, hoodies, just basics, I think you can find. And people always ask the meaning of it. I think it's just, it's all of the things about you that makes you different that you may not necessarily think is that great to people. And it's also all of the things in a successful person's journey. Original Ugly for an athlete could be off-season tour-days, the ugly part of growing, training your body, the shit that hurts, the pain. But that's what's gonna get you to your greatest self. So that's kind of the idea behind the brand, embracing the things that are not the most appealing but that are the most important, really.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being here. It was such a pleasure to get to talk with you.
Of course.
And before you go, we like to ask everybody, what is their favorite food from their culture? What is it? And then what actually is it? Tell us about it. And then why they should try it.
Oh man, mine is pretty easy. It'll just be grilled lamb. You've been to our house. My brother on a grill is crazy, but grilled lamb, fried plantain, a loco, a lot of people call it, and just some light stuff on the side. That's my very, very favorite, and I think that's one that everyone can enjoy. And then the other one is, we call it to in Africa, in Mali, but the closest thing to it is fufu. Okay. So the way we make it is with corn flour instead, and the soup that we make with it, you can make two different ones. There's okra soup that you can make it with, or I don't know how to say it, baobab.
Oh, baobab.
Do you know the tree baobab?
Yeah, I think that's how it is called.
Yeah, okay, baobab leaf is another way we make it that's really, really good. So and then just fried rice from Mali. Everyone has their version of jollof rice. Or zame?
Yes, call it zame. That's my favorite Malian food. I'm like, you gotta call zame by
We
its
call
name.
it zame, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, the closest thing you can think to is like jollof rice,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, you gotta try Mali's version too. It's pretty good.
It's 10 out of 10, guys. I'm
It's
Ghanaian,
pretty
but
good.
zame it's top tier.
It's fire.
it's 10 out of 10 for sure. For sure.
Yeah, all
I mean, they're closer to the
Nigerian,
original, so they're closer. But thank you so much, Idi. And then last thing too that we didn't get to ask you about. So you're from Mali. And what language do you speak in Mali?
Bambara.
Okay, awesome.
I speak Bambara, but there's a bunch of languages. But that's one that's probably most spoken, like, because I grew up in the capital, so everyone there will be speaking Bambara.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you again. Thank you. Such a pleasure to be with you. Thank you all for tuning in to watch this podcast today. Be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you thought. Be sure to follow The Original Ugly on Instagram and check them out at theoriginalugly.com. And then be sure to also follow us on all social media platforms. Thanks and see you next time.